Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shayna, the Soul Traveler. Forgive the background. I am in my teenage son's room today. We're going to talk about our life paths. And one good way that we can get some insight on that is by knowing our south and north node placements in our birth chart. So if you don't know yours, I'm going to leave a link below where you can go and calculate it, and then you can come back to this video, or you can listen and then go look at it later. I would recommend finding it though before I get in the rest of this video, because I am going to go over the traits of each one. So if you have like a Virgo south node, then your north node is automatically Pisces. Or if your south node's Pisces, then automatically north node's Virgo, and so on. So the key is that you have come into this life already mastering your south node's traits, okay? In all of your past lifetimes, you spent lifetimes doing that. You mastered it. You got it. Now you need to balance that out with your north node's traits in order to follow your purpose, okay? Everyone's purpose and personal path are going to be individual and different, but these are the basics of that, okay? So let's jump right in. Let's talk about first Libra and Aries nodes. So you could have a Libra south node with Aries north, or an Aries south node with a Libra north. So if you're a Libra south node, you've had lifetimes of mastering relationships, because Libra is a sign of relationships, right? It's the scales, it's the balance, it's ruled by Venus. Venus is the planet of love, relationships, right? So whether you're coming from an Aries south node or a Libra south node, you're trying to balance individuality versus your relationship. So as the Libra south node, you may have trouble finding your individuality, or knowing who you are outside of a partner or somebody you're attached to, right? But particularly romantic partners. If you are an Aries south node, you may have difficulty compromising, negotiating, and, balancing out that individuality in your relationships. Like everything is all about you, everything is your way or the highway, that kind of thing. So both paths is about balancing that individuality versus relationships, just depending on which direction you're coming from. So we have a very much me versus we attitude with Aries south nodes, and it could be the opposite with Libra south nodes. It's we, everything's we, and there is no me, right? You don't know who you are, like I said, outside of relationship. So relationships for both south nodes, whether it's a Libra south or Aries south, okay, your relationships are going to be your karmic classroom, okay? So you're going to learn all these karmic lessons through your relationships. If you're Aries south node going toward Libra south node, you're going to get some rude awakenings, okay, that it cannot be all about you in these karmic relationships. If you're a Libra south node, you may experience a lot of codependency, or just feeling bored if one partner's not meeting your needs, so you go and find another one, and just never know how to be alone by yourself, okay? Aries, you have to learn, Aries south node has to learn how to compromise and balance out with other people, and not just have to be in isolation or alone, doing everything on their own all the time. All right, so for Libra south nodes, you need to learn assertiveness over keeping the peace. Sometimes you need to speak your mind, because sometimes you like to keep the peace too damn much, okay, at the expense of yourself and what you need. And sometimes this can manifest as like rage or bullying, because like it just outbursts on the rare times you do get mad. If you're Aries and south node, you could be enraged like all the time. For Aries south node, you need to learn to keep the peace a little more, and know when to hold them, when to hold it, what you need to say all the time, or have things your way all the time. All right, so that is Aries and Libra, south and north node. Let's jump into Capricorn and Cancer south node. So if you're Cancer south node, you're automatically a Capricorn north node. If you're a Capricorn south node, you're automatically a Cancer north node, okay? So this life path, regardless of which end it's coming from, involves balancing the personal life and the professional life. So if you're Capricorn south node, you may focus too much on work and your professional life, and you need to balance that out with close connections, intimacy, family, home. That being just as important, or balanced out. If you're Cancer south node, you may place too much importance on your family, on your personal feelings, emotions, and need to balance out on how to focus a little bit more on the professional, practical stuff. Okay, so balancing home and work. for either way. Cancer South needs to balance home and work. Capricorn South needs to balance home and work. All right, because if you're Cancer South, you're going to be more focused on home, okay? If you're Capricorn South, no, you're going to be a lot more focused on work. So there's that mother-father energy. Cancer Capricorn is the mother and father of the zodiac. That masculine versus feminine energy. Okay, so we need to be focused on balancing those if you have these nodes. The Cancers, like I said, rules home, family, women, maternal energy, creativity, where Capricorn rules career, public life, men, paternal energy, and structure. Now, when I say women, men, that doesn't matter. We're talking about energies here, okay? Gender doesn't matter. So, an interesting thing about Capricorn and Cancer South and North nodes is if you're Cancer South node, you may be more comfortable with women, with female or feminine energies, and feel shy away from or uncomfortable around masculine energies or men. If you are a Capricorn South node, you may feel more comfortable around masculine energies or men and feel uncomfortable with feminine energies or women. Okay, so Cancers and Capricorn South nodes tend to prefer one sex over the other, depending on which one is yourself. Okay. People in the Capricorn South node need to learn to enjoy their home, enjoy their family, enjoy these personal connections, and make them valuable, just as valuable as their hard work is, okay? Cancer South node needs to learn to be self-sufficient and not so codependent all the time, and create that safety in themselves, and move from the nurturer role to the provider role. So learn to build that structure that the Capricorn North node has, okay? So that is for Cancer and Capricorn. Let's talk about Gemini and Sagittarius. And don't forget, guys, your timestamps are below if you want to jump to any other ones. So with Gemini and Sagittarius, interesting thing is they're the most interactive. So meaning that both energies interact with each other like very well, rather than being like total opposites. The differences are more subtle. So this is a relatively easier transition for those of you with Gemini South node to Sagittarius North, or Sagittarius South to Gemini North. Okay, some of the paths are a little bit easier than others. And there is a couple ones that are supposed to be the hardest that we'll get to later. Okay, so for Gemini South or Sagittarius South node, your life purpose includes teaching, learning, writing, or spreading a message. Either way it goes, okay? So the Gemini South node, Gemini really likes local travel, familiar faces. They know everybody and they're the big fish in a little pond, okay? They love talking to people, but people that they know and familiar with. Sagittarius is more about embracing the bigger worlds, okay? So if you're Gemini South node, you can embrace your path by traveling in more, going out of your comfort zone, out of your familiar zones, and getting to know the bigger world outside of you, out of your close community. And that can bring tremendous spiritual growth for you if you're Gemini South node. You need to become more independent of someone who gets you, because Geminis are the twins, so they always need a best friend, a partner, someone who gets them, right? And so you need to learn how to get yourself without needing somebody to understand you. In your past lives, the Gemini South node could have been manipulative, could have been thieves, past life liars, because, Gemini has that gift of gab. So because it's in the South node, it's the darker energies, okay, the shadow energies. And in your past lives, you could have been more in the shadow side of that Gemini trait. So you would need to embrace honesty and cultivate honesty in yourself, with yourself and with others, and seeing the bigger picture, okay, and not so focused on the small details, and seeing the bigger picture of, if I do this now, what will be like outcome later. If you're Sagittarius South node and moving toward a Gemini North node, you've seen the world in your past life. So you've seen the world, you've seen it all. You have lovers from all over the world. You've had friends from all over the world. You've seen and done it all, okay? You probably have diverse connections. Like, all of your friends come from different places. Like, you have a melting pot of friends in your life that wouldn't make sense with each other, right? But you must learn to stay in one place and ground yourself and put down roots if you're a Sagittarius South node. Okay, so your challenge is learning to see the world in a simple way, in a common sense way, rather than needing to be a philosopher all the time and find out the bigger, greater answers. Just see things simple for what they are. okay, and looking at things in factual ways. So that is Gemini, Sagittarius. Let's talk about Virgo and Pisces, North and South nodes. Now, Virgo to Pisces is one of the hardest, most difficult, and challenging paths. Don't be afraid if you have this one. I have this one, but it is one of the most challenging ones. Now, if you're Pisces to Virgo, it could still be a little challenging, but not as challenging if you're going from Virgo South Node to Pisces North Node. But either way, they both tend to be a bit more difficult than some of the other ones, okay? So Virgo and Pisces are both signs of healing, right? Health and healing. Where Pisces is just more on the spiritual side of healing, Virgo is more about the physical health. This path, regardless of which way you're coming from, it involves service, healing, and generosity. Okay, so if you're either of these Virgo or Pisces South Node, you could work in the wellness industry, whether it's medical or like spiritual wellness or anything like that. These either one of these South Nodes have a tendency to go into addiction. Okay, especially if you're a Virgo South Node. And later in your lives, whether you're a Pisces South Node or Virgo South Node, it's a good chance you become a teacher or a guide of some kind, okay? The Virgo South Node is very analytical. Pisces energy as the South Node is very creative and go with the flow, right? So if you're, no matter which end you're on, whether you're Pisces or Virgo South Node, you're going to find yourself constantly trying to balance out this fact versus fantasy, this intuition versus logic. So you're probably one of those people who every time you have an intuitive download, you start questioning it with logic, or vice versa. Every time you hear logic, if it goes against your intuition, you're like, yeah. Okay, so you're going to constantly be trying to balance those out if this is your path. All right, so constant questioning. If you're Virgo South, you tend to feel like seeing is believing. Okay, if I can't see it, it doesn't exist. If I can't prove it, it doesn't exist. Pisces South Nodes is the opposite. Believing is seeing. Whatever they can create, whatever they believe in their mind is true. And this can be overdone sometimes. It can cause you to be delusional, okay? So, the Pisces South Node needs to release. If you're a Pisces South Node and you're a Virgo North Node, you need to release denial, deception, whether you're being deceived or deceiving others, emotional manipulation, whether it's being done to you or you're doing it, self-pity, excuses, being too passive, being scatterbrained, not focusing on any one thing, not paying attention to your surroundings, abusive relationships, being bullied, being unrealistic. Yes, I mean, you can dream of anything, but there is a point where if you're just straight in denial, okay, and releasing too much fantasy. What Pisces South Nodes need to embrace is learning how to solve problems with facts and data, not solely on how you feel, intuition. You do need both. You need to learn accountability and not blaming others for everything all the time. You need to learn personal responsibility, okay, to take care of yourself, and that you can't just live in your fantasy world like all the time. You need to learn boundaries, and you need to learn to pay attention to details. If you are a Virgo South Node, you need to release the need to be perfect or perfectionism. You need to release the need to be a helper all the time or a fixer. You need to release analysis paralysis, meaning that you analyze everything to death until you're paralyzed. You've analyzed it so much now you just can't even move. You've talked yourself into being mentally paralyzed, okay? Release addictions. Release the need to escape stress through addiction, or I call people unhealthy habits. Release worry. Release the need to do things the hard way all the time, or not to receive help from others. So you need to maybe rely on others a little bit more. Release the need to micromanage, being skeptical all the time, questioning everything instead of just going along, right? You need to release dismissing your intuition. I mean, you do get strong intuition, but you dismiss it, okay, and question it, go against it. Release verbal abuse, because Virgos have a way of breaking down people with their very analytical words, and it tends to be very true, but it can be used manipulatively to hurt people, okay, and gossip. Virgo gossip. So what you need to embrace as a Virgo South Node is creative freedom, artistic abilities, being a healer, using your intuition, using your imagination, developing trust, developing your psychic abilities and trusting that psychic ability, developing faith in a higher power or some sort of spiritual power, allowing support from others. You need to embrace surrender. You need to learn to process the emotions without the escape of alcohol, drugs, or any unhealthy things you do to escape that. And you need to learn to recover from any addictions that you have. Addictions don't have to be drugs. They could be people. They could be unhealthy habits, cigarettes, overeating, anything. So let's talk about Taurus and Scorpio, South and North nodes. Taurus and Scorpio are the second hardest, okay, right there with Virgo and Pisces. This is the very difficult path, okay, if you have Taurus or Scorpio South node. So whether you are Taurus or Scorpio South node, money, power, sensuality is like the themes here, okay? Your destiny is to learn balance between your spiritual world and your material world. So if you're Scorpio South node, you may be overly into the spiritual world and never in the material world, so you need to balance that out. Likewise, if you're a Taurus South node, you're maybe too hung up on material and you need to learn to balance it out with the spiritual. Okay, so both signs, both energies have sexual prowess and prone to extremes, okay, depending on which end you're on. All right, Taurus, if you're a Taurus South node, you need to learn to embrace what could be versus what is. So you need to learn to dream a little instead of just like, okay, well, I don't have this right now, and this and this and that is like this right now, so that can't happen. So you need to embrace that what could be versus what is. Okay? So you spent, as a Taurus South node, you spent many lifetimes steeped in the material world. Everything's material. You've been very hardworking. Everything's practical, workhorse. You work, you make the money. That's been your lifetimes as a Taurus South node, past lifetimes, okay? You may have enjoyed spending, and even in this life, you could enjoy spending a lot of luxury items and just, wanting the better things, and it could be overly focused on that. So Taurus rules the five senses: touch, taste, smell, etc., right? A lot of Taurus South nodes could be gifted artists of some kind, because you're ruled by Venus, which is planet of beauty, creativity as well. A downfall for Taurus or South node can be indulgence. Okay, that can be indulgence can be your downfall. Okay, the Scorpio, if you have a Taurus South node, you obviously have a Scorpio North node, and you'll be pulled to the spiritual learning. Okay, and one of your lessons will learn how to make money work for you instead of you working for your money. So investments, things like that, resources, other people helping out, instead of you just working hard for your money all the time. So if you're a Scorpio South node, you have a Taurus North node. You came here to work, okay? You came here to work because in your past lifetimes you could have been born very privileged, had everything handed to you, always had someone else protecting you, standing up for you. It is your time as a Scorpio South node. In order to reach your Taurus North node, you need to learn how to work. Learn how to be self-sufficient. Step into your public power and roll up your sleeves instead of being behind the scenes and calling the shots and just getting everything handed to you, right? You came here to learn how to earn and learn how to do, okay? If you are a Scorpio South node. So our last and final one is going to be Aquarius and Leo nodes. So if you are either an Aquarius South node or a Leo South node, your path is going to be balance. You need to balance being in the spotlight versus being a team player, okay? So Aquarius energy is always a team player. They're always about the whole. So if you're Aquarius South node, you do too much of that, and you don't worry about yourself enough. You don't step into that spotlight enough. You don't let your voice be heard enough. If you're a Leo South node with an Aquarius North node, then you're in the spotlight too much. Everything is about me, attention all on you, and maybe you are too oblivious to other people's needs, okay, or the needs of the whole. So sometimes the Leo is referred to as the have, and the Aquarius as the have-nots. A lot of Aquarius South nodes or Aquarius energy in general tend to feel like they have, in order for them to be morally correct or something, they have to give everything away to everybody else and leave nothing for themselves. Okay? So if you're a Leo South node, the world revolves around you all the time, or you think it does. Your path is to learn humanity. but not at the expense of your inner fire. You're not supposed to give up your inner fire or give up your spotlight, but you have to learn how to balance it, okay? Learn humanity and learn what it means to care about another human being, okay? What it means to be human. You need to learn to use your talents and your dramatic ways as a Leo South Node to better the whole, instead of it just being about your personal attention that you're getting. If you're an Aquarius South Node with a Leo North Node, you can make powerful change in this world. However, you tend to get lost in the crowd, okay, and not standing out. So you need to learn to channel that Leo roar to reach a wider audience, because you have great ideas, you're techies, all this stuff, but you need to put your voice on a display, okay, be on stage of life, so to speak, a little bit more. All right, because you can tend to be too detached and not in the spotlight enough. So if you're an Aquarius South Node with Leo North Node, you may be too humble and you need to learn to be a little bit more prideful. If you're a Leo South Node with an Aquarius North Node, you are not humble enough and you need to learn how to become a little bit more humble. Okay, so that is just some basics of your South and North Nodes. I hope you guys got something from this video. See you at the next stop.